I'm going to talk about lead source attribution, and that is figuring out which of your marketing campaigns is bringing you the most leads and sales so that you can do more of whatever that is and less of basically everything else. If you're primarily advertising on the Google and Facebook platforms, you're going to get a detailed view of those results in the platforms themselves. But you'll definitely want to watch our video on deep funnel conversion tracking to make sure those platforms are getting fed all the right data. Otherwise, the reports will be wrong and you won't be able to make good decisions based on them. That video is linked in the resources section below. That said, Facebook and Google advertising is hardly the only game in town. You may have all sorts of lead sources, including organic social media posts, blogging, offline advertising, podcasts, or who knows what else. Plus, you've got all your lead nurturing activities, emails, retargeting, and so on. All those marketing efforts cost time and money, so it's important to know which bear fruit so that you can focus on those. Ontraport is going to be a huge help here. The tool we're going to use for this is the filtering tool inside of performance mode. But before I get into that, there are two things that you'll want to know before watching this video. First, we covered the basics of performance mode in past videos, so watch those first if you haven't already. And second, you need to know what UTM variables are, and you should be using them in your marketing. Again, we have a video on the topic of UTM variables, so make sure to check that out before continuing as well. If you're up to date on both of those things, and you're investing time and money into advertising, I'm about to blow your mind. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to just load up an example automation that shows a typical lead nurture process. This automation adds people who opt in at the top, delivers an ebook, and then sends some long-term follow-up. At the bottom, there's a goal that's achieved when people buy that pulls them off of this follow-up campaign and moves them into the fulfillment stage. Pretty basic stuff. Now, the burning questions we want to answer here are, where are my best leads and buyers coming from? And what marketing activities in my funnel are driving people to buy from me? The answers to these questions are surprisingly elusive for marketers, especially those who don't use Ontraport. But we're going to get to the bottom of both of them in the next few minutes. So let's take a look here. When I load this automation, since it's already published, it's going to drop me into performance mode, which is exactly what I want. In the performance mode basics video, I covered what each of your reports are for, but to best show you lead source tracking, I'm going to go ahead and use the contact flow report, which is the default. In it, you can see basic information about how many contacts entered and moved around the map during the selected date range. For now, I'm going to switch this to all-time data, so we'll see everyone who's ever been on this automation map. If you've turned on tracking in your administration menu, which you can do in the Advanced tab of your account administration area along the left side, you'll notice a tracking drop-down here in the automation performance mode. This lets you filter the results on this page based on each one of the contact's UTM variables. Once you open up tracking, you'll see a fill-in-the-blank that says, these are the blanks which the contacts on this map blank clicked. In the first blank, I'm going to select lead sources. In the second, let's pick first, so that it reads, these are the lead sources which the contacts on this map first clicked. What you'll see below is the list of UTM lead sources that everyone on this map initially clicked before being added to your Ontraport account. You can then see how many total clicks Ontraport has tracked coming from each of these lead sources and how many of those people ended up on this map. Now that's pretty slick because you can quickly see the sources that brought you these particular contacts. Since this map is a basic lead nurture map, it's showing me the sources that brought me the most new leads. But it gets even cooler than that. When I click on my purchase goal down here, some new magic happens. Now I'm only seeing the UTM variables that brought me the contacts who actually achieved this goal, which in this case means they bought from me. That's amazing because I can easily compare which lead sources brought me the most actual buyers. But wait, there's more. If I click on the details link on any of these lead sources, I get to drill into that lead source and look at the results based on my other UTM variables. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's say I have Facebook as a lead source, and all of my buyers came from Facebook. That's great to know. But I run 100 different campaigns on Facebook, and it would be nice to know a little more specifically which campaigns are bringing me those buyers. And that's exactly what this shows me. I can choose campaign here or any of the other UTMs like medium, term, and content, and see these results broken down in detail. Now this is insanely powerful. As we've already discussed in other videos, Ontraport is going to have the most accurate tracking data, much more so than something like Facebook or Google. So this is really useful information for making good marketing decisions. But of course, there's more. If I go back to the top, you'll remember that there's this drop-down that lets you choose between first and last. What's that all about? Well, as you hopefully learned in our video on UTM tracking, which is linked below, Ontraport stores both the first UTM that we track for each contact And we also store the most recent UTM, which we call the last UTM. We do that because very often a single contact will click on several marketing pieces throughout their relationship with a brand. They may click on an ad, get added to your list, then maybe they click on some emails, and maybe click another ad later on, and then they click on another email, and then they finally buy from you. If you've got things set up right, and you should, every one of those links they clicked on will have UTM variables on them, and Ontraport will track them all. The first time Ontraport sees a UTM variable in a link that a contact visits, it'll put those values in both the first and last fields of the contact's record. After that first time, if it sees the same contact clicking a link with a different UTM variable, it'll leave the first UTM fields alone. That one will never change, but it will update the last UTM fields with the most recent value. Okay, but why? Well, it's so that the system can create this report. It's important to know where your new leads are coming from, and we just covered that, but it's also important to know what marketing pieces are actually driving leads to achieve your real goals. Signups, purchases, upgrades, referrals, and so on. For example, maybe you got 100 leads to opt in for an ebook and they all came from Facebook and Google. Well, we can see that using the report we already looked at, but maybe they didn't buy just yet. So maybe after they opted in, over the next 4 months, they're going to go through your 25 email follow-up campaign. And then they're also going to get a bunch of retargeting ads on Facebook and YouTube. Well, it'd probably be nice to know which of those emails or retargeting ads actually push people over the edge and gets them to buy. That's exactly what this report tells you. It answers the question, what are the last UTMs that we tracked for each contact before they achieved a particular goal? So if the goal is a purchase, as it is here, you'll see the last marketing piece they clicked on before buying your stuff. Just select lead source at the top of the tracking sidebar and last in the second dropdown. The system will ask you to click on the goal you want to report on, so I'll click on our purchase goal. And now, like magic, you can see exactly what marketing pieces drove people to finally make this purchase. And like before, you can even drill in further to see which campaign or medium that they came from, and so on. It may just be that one of your emails is killing it, or that a particular video in your retargeting campaign is spot on. That sort of information is how you can find breakthroughs that can really take your business to the next level. Okay, I think you get the idea now, but just a couple notes before we wrap this up. First, you can probably see that getting strategic with how you set up your automation maps is going to be really important so that you can get the data you want to see. This data gets collected as it happens, so you can't create new automations to capture conversions that happened in the past. So really you want to set these maps up in advance so that later on you can come back and check out these reports. I made another video about creating automations specifically for reporting, so go check that out as well to get some ideas. Second, I mentioned being able to see which emails are driving performance. In order to get that data, all the links in your emails need to have the UTM variables in them. We make that super easy by doing it for you automatically, but you do have to check a box in your emails to tell us to do it. Just open your email, make sure this tracking box is checked, and we'll automatically add the correct UTMs to each email. And of course, as I mentioned, all of this depends on you using UTMs in every link that you post. Your social media posts, your ads, everything. That's the standard best practice for all online marketers. So if you're not doing it, it's time to start getting into the habit. You don't have to use them all the time, but lead source, campaign, and content really should always be used. Again, we have other videos that show you how to set all this up. Okay, we just covered some of the most powerful and unique reporting features that Ontraport has to offer for advanced marketers. Your gears are probably already turning about the different ways you can combine triggers, goals, reports, and UTMs to get insanely detailed reporting and start getting better info. And with it, you'll be making smarter decisions that will really move the needle for your business. Nice work.